Good evening, everyone. It is 6:04 on May 23rd, 2023. This is the meeting of the Conservation Commission / Inland Wetland Agency for Norwalk, Connecticut. Alexis, could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. I'll start with you, Steve Blackman.
I am here.
Cheryl Brown.
Here.
Ed Holowinko.
Yo.
And Catherine Knight.
Here.
All right, so you have exactly 4 and you have a quorum.
Excellent. Is there anyone dialed in who would like to speak from the public, not about anything that's on our agenda?
No, there are no attendees.
No attendees. Wonderful. Moving on. Receipt and discussion for S23-619, 37 Geneva Road.
Amelia, you want to do a super brief introduction?
Yes, I can keep it very brief. This property, the reason you guys are looking at it is because they are installing a new septic system within the upland review area of the water course that's in and adjacent to the property. And they have some addition work going on as well, but that is all outside of upland review areas. And in addition to that new septic system, they're also proposing some removal of invasive species and mitigative landscaping.
And I know that the applicant's team is here. If you guys want to do a quick overview and then.
I have a PowerPoint presentation, a very quick one. Just to add some colors. So, all right, let's go. Go through them very quickly. Okay, well, slideshow. Can you see my slides? Uh-oh, I'm frozen.
It's thinking.
I'll try again. Let me, can I not share? Share again. No, nothing works. It's frozen. Oh, it's thinking actually. Oh, there's some movement on my side. Wow, that's weird. All right, so I will just walk you quickly through the site. I just see the wait.
Oh, there you go.
So this is the view of the river from the street, and the proposed activities which are being regulated by the commission is the septic system. So quickly is the location of the site. So it is in a corner of Pillow Street and Geneva Road. This is a single family residence with a driveway and access from Geneva, and also a septic system currently located in this area. It's 2.22 acre site, and it is located within a 5 Mile River watershed. And the 5 Mile River is actually crossing the southern section of the property. In terms of regulated areas, there are a few. There's a 5 Mile River, so this is the water course, and it has an associated wetland fringe, which is marked here in blue. And then the other side of the river was not marked because the access was too complicated. So also we found the floodplain soil at the site, and this is typical for larger rivers. And this floodplain area actually used to be the channel of the main rivers. Rivers have tendency to shift and switch, and they change the locations of the channels, not very often, but from time to time. And in the past, you can actually see by the topography that the channel used to be here, crossing this area. At the current time, it's actually flowing here. This is not man-made. This is actually a natural phenomena. This is what the river do. In terms of the vegetated cover and wildlife habitat, if you are in the back of the house looking towards the river, and this is the river, you can see the wetland, which is pretty nicely vegetated. We have some trees. The understory, the trees actually are pretty native and large and good quality. The understory, however, is not. It's mostly dominated by invasive species. Along the edges, you can see skunk cabbage growing here. And actually over here is a small spring which feeds the wetland fringe and flows towards the river. Here you have a close-up of the river edge. So this is this area here. You can see that there's an armoring of a stone. Farther away downstream, there used to be a dam, it looks like. So the channel is pretty wide because I think the damming of the flow created some sort of little, I wouldn't say lake, but impoundment. And now the dam is not functioning, it's basically being passed through by the flow. And that's why we have the channel a little bit wider. And here's a little edge, which is heavily armored. There's a lot of stone in the sediment, and then covered with vegetated herbaceous ground cover. This area is the, hold on, I have to move your pictures. So this area is actually the floodplain of the river over here, and including those few trees all the way towards the river. So the floodplain is shared with lawn and Pachysandra cover with some of the trees growing along the edges. What are we proposing? We are proposing several activities, but the one which is the closest to the wetland is the septic. So just to navigate through, this is the edge of the river. This is the wetland fringe right here. This was the spring I showed you on the picture. And this is the floodplain soils. Floodplain soils are regulated and actually included in the definition of the wetland. Those soils are not poorly drained or very poorly drained. They're actually well drained or moderately well drained. So they are basically dry. They have a pretty deep water table. But they are included in regulations. So here we have the first one. It's a buffer, 50-foot buffer from the wetland over here. This line shows 50-foot buffer from the floodplain soils, which are over here. And then we have the most stringent one, 100-foot buffer, which is from the edge of the river. And the septic is located between the 50-foot buffer, it's outside of it, but actually it is within the 100-foot buffer. And here's the connection, and there is a septic tank and a septic pump. In addition to it, outside of the upland review area or the buffers, we are proposing balcony, which is going to be at the second level. So this activity will not expand the footprint of the residents. And then we have two-story addition. And the addition is going to be built on a slab, which is an existing, I think, portion of the building was removed. And now there is this slab. I haven't seen this before the demolition, so I'm not sure what's going on, but this is actually the outline of the slab. And the two-story addition is going to be built over it. So there will be no increase of the impervious surface by this addition. This is also a second-story addition. I mean, this is a second-story addition, which will not expand the footprint of the building. And then we have a patio, which will kind of run around the two-story addition. Potential impacts during the construction activities include two. We have short-term impacts, and they are related with the soil disturbance. When the septic is going to be installed and associated drainage, there will be some disturbance, and we are going to be mitigating this with the proper soil erosion controls. So the wetland and the watercourse and the floodplain soils will be protected during the construction activities. We will have to bring some fill to install the septic, and approximately 45 cubic yards of fill is going to be installed in support of the leaching fields. And then we have also potential long-term impacts, and long-term impacts are going to be associated with the increase of impervious surface. There's going to be very slight increase of impervious surface, not within your jurisdiction outside of the 100-foot watercourse buffer. And this potential impact is going to be mitigated with the proposed in-ground infiltration systems. In addition to the in-ground infiltration system and proper erosion controls, we are going to also restore the wetland area. And as I mentioned, the understory is mostly dominated by invasive species, and also there are some invasive vines growing there. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be removing the invasive species and do supplemental planting. The planting is not very dense because the invasive species are not that dense, and there is a large and very dense cover of skunk cabbage, so we don't want to compete with the native vegetation and what is already good in there. We'll be just supplementally planting wherever the area is being vacated by the removal of invasive species. Along the edge of this wetland, we're going to be planting a few shrubs to kind of reinforce the edge and provide a little bit more protection to the wetland behind. As you can see, all the green circles, these are existing trees, and many of them, most of them are, I mean, some of them are evergreen, some of them are deciduous. So this area is already have nice vegetative cover and tree canopy. So this is the end of the presentation, and I'm here if you have any questions. And with me tonight is also Wayne DeVanzo, and she's our project engineer.
Yes, good evening. Wayne DeVanzo, Fairfield County Engineering. I just want to speak very briefly about the septic. It's located in the only, or it's proposed to be located in the only location that we really can due to the required health code setbacks and its required area and length. There is ledge in the what I guess would be the northwestern corner of the property, which eliminates that area from which would have been out of the upland review area, but because of the ledge, it really eliminates the practical use of it, and the geometry doesn't really work well either with just the way it is between the house and the property lines, and also the required separation that we need from the retention system. So you know, it's located in the only spot that it really can go. And the only other point I would make is the fill. It is about 45 cubic yards, but there will be no net fill or excavation. The 45 cubic yards are basically the amount of septic sand that needs to be brought in. It will replace the native soil, but the existing contours and existing topography is going to be maintained. So it's a net zero basically. And that's about all I have.
Okay. If there's no one else from the applicant side that would like to contribute something, I would ask the commissioners to ask questions if they have any. All right, hearing none, I think we will just receive this, and nothing jumped out at me, Alexis. So if you're willing to draft a resolution for our next meeting, I think that would be great. Right, commissioners? No crazy questions. We might as well help keep this thing moving along.
Agreed.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Moving on. S23-620, 127 Richards Avenue.
So this project is another elderly housing development. It's similar to the one at 125 Richards Avenue, which some of you were, you guys did approve that in 2021, I believe. So very similar. It's also on the 5 Mile River. There are 13 units spread across 7 buildings. None of the buildings themselves are in the upland or are in the wetland or watercourse, obviously, or the upland review areas. There is a large retaining wall, and I think a portion of the driveway and the stormwater retention systems are within the upland review area. There is significant planting proposed, and within the upland review areas, there's not too much vegetation being removed, but they will be planting a bit in the buffer, and then Attorney Blank is here to represent that application.
Thank you, Amelia. Is it okay for me to proceed at this point? Great, thank you. And I will be less than 5 minutes unless there's lots of questions. It's 2 pieces of property that if approved through you and through planning and zoning will be merged. It's 127 and 135 Richards. This little piece here is not actually part of the development. This is that sort of large senior home here, 5 Mile River in here. This is 125 Richards. But let me see if I can move this. 125 Richards actually now looks like this. So this is the property next door. Is 5 duplex elderly units. The owner of this is different than the owner over here of 127, 135, but everyone else involved in this project did the other project here, same architect, engineer, landscape, same lawyer. The landscape plan I'll pull up. This is the proposed layout for the development with the 5 Mile River here. And the 100-foot upland review area line is right here. So you'll see it just kind of clips the edge of the last structure here. And then it cuts over. This is some parking and kind of a grassed area, but this grassed area has a lot of the drainage underneath. So there'll be a disturbance in there for the drainage. Again, it's 6 duplex homes, 1 single family. So it's 13 units in total. It's on about 2.5 acres. There's 6 at-grade parking spaces. It's elderly housing. So you've got all the housing units are handicap accessible. All will have 1st floor primary bedrooms with a single car garage. You'll be able to put a 2nd car in the driveway. The site slopes. So from Richards down to the 5 Mile River, you'll see there's a fair amount of topography here. The total of the on-site area wetland is actually 0.06 acres. And the water course that runs the length of the property is 265 feet. The 50-foot setback the 50-foot review area on the wetland is entirely sort of subsumed or covered by that 100-foot water course line. Of the 0.65 acres of the upland review area, only about 0.09 acres will be disturbed. And then compared to the site disturbance and the rest of the site of 1.7 acres. You can kind of tell, but 60% of the site is going to be open space or green space. As part of the development, 25% of the parcel or parcels will become conservation area. It's not proposed to be through an easement, but as part of the special permit through the zoning process approval, there'll be a restriction that 25% of the site remain conservation area. And at the hearing, Matt Popkin, the landscape architect, can detail for you that area. But essentially, it's the review area that will become easement. We started with a plan that was significantly different from this, that had, from a market perspective, these units down here that face the river are by far the most valuable. And so we had 4 units across going into the review area. And we've had a number of iterations with your staff trying to pull back as much as far as we can away from not just the wetlands and the water course, but the review area as well. And we managed to get, again, the structures out of the area with just a little bit of the drainage and the parking within the review area. Under this version of the plan, we're only losing 2 trees within that 100-foot review area. And as you can see from this landscaping plan, quite a number of trees are going to replace the 2 that are coming down. There'll be, your stormwater control, infiltration, and treatment will meet the city's drainage manual. Runoff from the impervious area will be treated to the water quality volume through the site's well draining soils. There's going to be a number of dry well arrays under the proposed driveway. There's spreaders, which will return the stormwater to the surface as sheet flow and mitigate soil erosion. During storm events, peak flows entering the river will be reduced. So the general intent of the site drainage is to allow surface water to follow the existing drainage patterns, continue to hydrate the wetlands, and provide filtration of surface runoff. During the construction phase, there'll be treatment of stormwater runoff through temporary sedimentation and other erosion control measures. Silt fencing, construction fencing to delineate the disturbance boundaries, silt sacks to protect newly constructed catch basements and yard drains, tree protections for those trees that will remain, tracking pad at the construction entrance. Once construction is complete, all of the disturbed areas will be properly graded, seeded, stabilized, and the proposed sedimentation and erosion control measures will be removed. We think it will maintain and protect the wetland, floodplain, and water course, won't have an adverse impact on regulated resources, local drainage patterns, or adjacent properties. That's my 3-minute overview. We'll have the full team here for a public hearing, or if you require us to come back prior to that and want others from the team there to present, we can do that. But that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions you have.
Commissioners?
I just have 2 questions. One was just on the line, was there walls that are next to the parking lot, or I couldn't figure out what, I didn't have the full legend on that on the other side of the parking lot that goes into the upland review area. And the other question was just in looking at that is trying to get a sense of how you feel that snow removal management's going to work, because obviously if it gets stacked up at the end of the driveway, that's not going to be beneficial to the watercourse wetland area.
So I'll talk to so I believe there is a wall at the end, right at the end of the site. I can try to pull it back up. In here. Yeah, and I'll find out about what the plan is for snow, and obviously we can ensure as a condition of your approval or zonings that it's not stacked up right at the back end here. There are, this is like, I'll call it overflow parking, which can provide an area for snow to be stacked.
And so Adam, if you haven't referred the drainage report and the site plan over to Wilbur and the Public Works Department for review of the stormwater management plan and the applicability of the state stormwater, I encourage you to, whoever the lead your engineer is, to contact him. I can send you his contact info.
We've sent everything to DPW, Health, Fire, Building, all the departments. In fact, I can tell you that DPW has already told us that they're planning on repaving Richards in the next couple of weeks, and so the project we won't be able to connect for 2 years. So we're still wanting approval in the near future, but COs will not be occurring for a while.
Okay. Yeah, and part of your drainage plan should address snow management as well. They've been more consistent in requiring that. as well as us. And then Catherine, to answer your question, there is a wall. It's about a 10-foot high difference between the proposed elevation of the developed area, and then it goes down to the conservation, the undisturbed land.
Could we bring the plan back up and highlight that, Adam? Is that all right? Or is there, do you have anybody else on board from your side?
No, we were trying to keep it brief for you today, but this,
Okay.
I believe, is the wall right here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and so to the left of that wall, to the west, there's not any grading happening.
No,
There's
it's,
the minimal, if you maybe go to the site plan,
yeah, yep.
Yeah, I was having a hard time deciphering.
that the first, yeah, that one is probably your best bet.
Okay, so for everyone else who maybe needs explanation as I do, it's a little different than what I'm used to seeing. The existing topography is in the lighter gray lines that are sort of dashed, sort of not. And then there's thicker black lines that tie to them. So the 70 right there to the left of your cursor, that is a new line that picks up on the old topo line at about the 50-foot wetland setback mark, right?
Correct.
And then I think there's to the north of that, there's not much happening for grading change. And to the south of that, again, it looks to be a little bit there, but not much of a change. Okay. And then there's just a big old wall. And then the site drainage happens on the uphill side, the flat side of that wall on the east side.
Right, the
Okay.
retention galleries are on to the east of that wall, and then the line that you see between the wall and that number 70 that you pointed out, that's a level spreader. So any overflow from the stormwater would be discharged. And then the purpose of a level spreader is so there isn't a kind of one preferred source or outlet, but it spreads evenly across the length of that trench.
Okay, and that happens only after the retention system uphill of the wall is overwhelmed during X year events.
Right.
Okay,
So looking at the wall, it looks like the top of wall is 81.5 and the bottom is 70.5. Is that correct? So it's 11 feet. Okay.
Yes,
Give or take, yep.
my interpretation of the map. Yes.
I would like to, one thing that I'd like to see is information on how the footer for the wall would interact with the level spreader. I just want to make sure that they don't conflict and the level spreader doesn't end up farther down the hill.
that's a good one. Do we have details of the wall itself? I'm really actually not seeing
I don't think so.
anything.
I don't think it's in the plans.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a bad idea to get that in there. Just so. Because sometimes they'll put like a silly like L footing on there, which is, makes your hole 4 times as wide. And, we just want to make sure we're all on the same page about what's happening down there. And I think looks like there's erosion, silt fence. I don't see a key, but I'm assuming the double lines with the next, the silt fence.
Yeah, there's a silk fence.
Kind of hard to read. And temporary stockpile areas. Silt fence around. Oh, I see. It's a double silt fence along the west side. parallel to the river. I got it. And a single silt fence everywhere else. Okay. Do we know, so there's a building down there that's going to be demolished
Yes,
that is within the 100-foot water course upland review area. I'd be curious to see details on how that is being demolished, just to make sure everything is, kept out of the area we don't want anybody to be traipsing around in, or running bulldozers and such. And then I'm also curious to know what are the 2 trees that are being removed? How big are they? Where are they? And then it looks like we've got a tree legend for the new trees. But do we have sizes called out for those? Or don't we?
do. We've got the new,
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing off the website. Landscape plan. Okay, sorry. I was looking at the other drawings, site
and
plan.
I know what the plans don't show the 2 trees that are being removed, so I'll have to get from the engineer, answer to that question about,
Groovy.
where exactly they are.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the plant list, we've got the 5 red maples that are 2.5 to 3 inch caliper, Alexis? B or a P?
P.
P,
Caliper.
caliper, not like a gun. Okay. And that's, remind me, I can never remember. Is that pretty much what we usually like as far as the bare minimum size?
Yeah, that is a good size. You often go down to a 1.5 inch tree for single family residences. So it's
All right,
a decent, it's not a huge tree, but it's not a seedling.
okay, great. All right, and I'm seeing 4 to 5, 7 to 8, 6 to 7 height trees. Great. Okay. All right, yeah, so I think that hopefully covers my sort of blind spots / questions. Anybody else see anything that they're curious about? Okay, if none, then we will let the applicant go for the evening and talk about this next time.
Okay, so as Attorney Blank, I think, mentioned in passing, it will require a public hearing at some point. So it sounds like you'd like to look at again at your June 13th meeting.
Sure.
And then schedule the public hearing during that meeting for either the June 27th meeting, or maybe the meeting after that.
Whatever works for you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
thank you. Moving on to discussion and or decision, S23-613, 18 Eastwood Road. I believe we do have a draft resolution for this.
Yes, so following the comments at your May 9th meeting, the applicant had the landscaping plan revised. Let's see. Share screen. Loading. There it goes. Laptop's running a little slow. So this is similar to the restoration plan that was discussed at your last meeting. It's by Tom Ryder at Land Tech, who provides a full restoration sequence and specific notes regarding the removal of wood chips, the stabilization of the ground, and then the planting notes. And one of the things that was discussed was the adequacy of the replanting of trees at the last meeting. So they have redone their planting schedule. And so there are now 7 proposed shade trees and then 2 small trees in addition to the 21 proposed shrubs. So it's a fairly, at this point, it's a fairly dense planting for the area, the real estate that we're talking about. And then additionally, it would be the entire wetland would be overseeded with New England wet mix, which is a native seed mix from New England wetland plants. And then so the first 3 pages are really what I would consider the plan and the details that would drive the implementation activities. And then the last page is a sketch that shows the approximate location of the various elements. So they proposed 2 trees to the Nissa within the wetland closest to the water course. 3 additional trees on kind of one in the center and then 2 on the upland edge of in the buffer. They're here, and then the remainder filled in with shrubs. And then on the south side, 1 large tree, 1 medium tree, and 8 shrubs. And like you mentioned, I did draft a possible draft resolution within the memo that I sent you earlier today based on this revised plan. I know that the applicant is present, so if you would like to add anything, Mr. Suarez, you're more than welcome to.
Yes, Alex, the only thing on the south part are going to be 2 shade tree, 2 shaded trees, 1 maple tree and 1 black gum tree, which both are large trees, going to be large.
Oh, okay. Yes. AR. Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you.
Okay,
That will be it. I'm just hoping the commission will approve my proposal plan today.
So,
okay,
in hopes of getting that done, I did make in the draft resolution, which you can obviously the commissioners, you can take or leave or modify at will for the 7 proposed shade trees. I condition that they be a minimum height of 5 or more feet at the time of planting, just based on some comments that you had made previously. But other than that, most of them were kind of the standard special conditions that you often require. A bond for the plantings that would be held for 2 full growing seasons. A small portion of a bond for the removal of the wood chips.
Wood chips, yes.
Those are really kind of.
And the removal of some invasive species as well.
And the invasive species management as well. Thank you.
Alexis, in line 4 of your draft resolution, can you explain to me the amendment? I get the shade trees must be minimum 5 feet in height, but before that you've got seed mix. Let's see, with areas disturbed from the removal of wood chips within the wetland shall be overseeded with the specified seed mix within 7 days of wood chip removal. And then, okay, I think I get it. And then in line 5, it says within 20 days, of completing the proposed removal of wood chips in the wetlands. The planting plan as described in special conditions 4 above shall be fully implemented.
Yeah,
Okay,
kind of meaning the shrub. So what I was trying to do was understand that the process for doing all of the actions may take some time. And so trying to give the potential permittee enough time to get all the shrubs planted, but at the same time, once the wood chips are removed, I am just concerned about erosion of the bare earth. So I just wanted to make sure that, and 7 days is pretty long already, but to make that a shorter timeline to get the seed and hay down.
okay. All right, that makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you, Mr. Suarez, that the timeline for getting the disturbed area covered back up?
Yes.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any additional questions or would like to propose a motion? Okay, I will move to adopt the draft resolution prepared by staff dated May 22, 2023 for S23-16 18 Eastwood Road as written. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Oh, well, your call, Alexis. I don't know who you want to give it to.
No, it was close. I think Ed's got his.
I had
hand
the
up.
finger
I
up.
think he did too.
Yeah.
No.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 None opposed, unanimous. So, great. Mr. Suarez, you got the green light. We need the bond. Ask Alexis if you have any questions. Otherwise,
No question.
okay.
Ask me, Alexis, if I need her, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You bet. Thanks for your patience.
You too. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Okay, moving right along. S23-616, 7061 Main Avenue.
All right, so this is another corrective action application. Your deadline is also this evening to make a decision. You're expended all the statutory time that you have. At the last meeting, you had received a site plan from a professional engineer that showed the design of the pipe outlet. Maybe I'll show these share my screen real quick. This plan here. That showed in particular wrong direction. The drainage pipe, this area currently has an area of excavation around it. It shows the sedimentation erosion controls, where there would be some grading, some proposed a new head wall and wing walls with a scour hole, and then they'd replace about 12 or 8 feet of pipe that would discharge into that scour hole. There's two drainage pipes that would outlet here, that currently outlet and would continue to outlet here. So that would be fixed up. They have a temporary stockpile area here, and they'd access from the existing parking lot in this location here. And then additionally on the site plan, it shows sedimentation erosion controls along the riverbank. This is the river at the bottom of the screen. And then along this previously disturbed slope, some erosion control matting blankets if required. And then fresh in earlier today. Large file, so it's going to take a few minutes to load. Is a planting plan. So just for your bearings, here is the new proposed revamped drainage pipe outlet with stabilization and plantings proposed around it. And then upstream, upriver, this is that other disturbed area with the plantings proposed within it. I'm not going to scroll down to get to the planting schedule right now because my computer is telling me that I may lose Zoom. So I'll stop there, and the applicant Larry Stewart is here. If you want to provide any additional information, that would be great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, yeah. Alexis covered it pretty well. Your water issues we were seeing due to the river and a pipe that was causing some issues, which is the excavated area. And we did that thinking we had permission to do it, and we didn't. So that's why we got the cease and restore. Since then, we've submitted the plan that Alexis just presented to both for both the work and the landscape. So that's where we are currently, hoping to be able to finish this job up. As I said,
I think we're losing your
restore.
audio. Oh, we didn't hear you for a little bit.
Okay, anything?
Now we can hear you. Sit
Just for
still,
that
don't
last
move.
little bit. You're good. Just for the last.
All right, I'm a statue now. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what you last heard. I was saying that we were trying to fix some interior issues. Wasn't anything nefarious. We thought we had the ability to do this. Clearly, we did not. So that's where we are. We are just looking forward to getting this pipe fixed, back installed, getting the river bank back to the way it was for the river and just for the ugly pile that we are currently looking at. So I guess if you have any questions, certainly take them.
So I did do a quick draft resolution this afternoon after I received the landscaping plan. It would be a draft resolution to approve with conditions. It also has some of your common special conditions. One is that since it is a corrective action work, that the work recommence and be completed within 5 months of issuance of this approval. Another condition is that there would be a bond, which would be a cash bond required, and that for the most part covers the proposed planting and stabilization. There is a part that would cover basic sedimentation and erosion control kind of stuff that could be released as soon as the work is done. It confirms that silt fence and hay bales would need to be installed at the bottom of the river before restarting work. That the river bank be once the drainage pipe work is completed, that the river bank restored to its original grade and then planted with native vegetation. And then it gives, once they start and finish the drainage pipe within 30 days, everything needs to be completely done, planted and wrapped up.
Sure.
So that's what's in the draft resolution to approve.
Do any commissioners have questions? On Alexis, yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Mhm.
Read my mind. So I know everyone has shook their head because I didn't hear anything. Okay, does anyone want to propose a motion? Okay, I'll do it. I will move to adopt the resolution in the memorandum dated May 23rd, 2023 for S23-616, 761 Main Avenue. And I do not have any amendments to it, so I'm proposing we accept it as written. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous at 4 commissioners. Larry, Mr. Stewart, do you have any questions?
I do not, and I'm sure I'll be speaking to Alexis if I have to. No problem.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Right.
You too.
Okay, moving on. S19-546B, 10 Willard Road.
Okay, so then the applicant also provided some additional information as requested at your last meeting on the 9th of December. We'll share my screen maybe. Let's see. Let's see. So I'll start with he did submit a letter from the operator of the cell tower. And, I'll let you read that. Basically, well, you can just read it.
Just to save everybody's time, really, it's just the last line that says anything useful.
Give you another second. Can I move on?
Sure.
And then also sent was a letter from the landscaping company that installed the bamboo barrier. And this is from Giovanni Maldonado, who is the president of the Maldonado Landscaping Company. And basically he describes the bamboo barrier, its design intent, and that his company installed it. And he believes that it was installed correctly. And then he goes on to describe both the barrier and the bamboo specimens that were used at the property. And that he'll continue to monitor it for as long as he's the landscaping contractor for the property. And then attached to his letter are some of the information that you've seen in the past from the purveyor of the barrier and bamboo plants. And then lastly, there's a revised landscaping plan that incorporates a few of the things that were discussed at the last meeting. First of all, the size of the plants were increased to 2 gallons, as was previously discussed. So they're twice the size of what was proposed initially. Also they've added bubbles to better indicate the location of the stream bank seeding with a native seed mix, both on this side of the bank as well as this side of the bank where my cursor is going. The circles are proposed additional shrubs. At the last meeting, I think the applicant showed us that the access way, the fill material, the dirt and seed were in the process of being completed. And then this is the proposed planting for the westernmost portion of the property adjacent to Strawberry Hill Road, where the conservation easement area is. They're proposing, these are trees, these are shrubs, and then within the area closest to the access road where there was comments regarding the amount of wood chips, they're proposing to mix in topsoil and then seed with a native grass mix.
So that note should say on the top left, it should say mix in topsoil and mulch with native grass seed mix. Is that what it's meant to say?
Yes, that is what it is. That's what I interpreted it to say, that they mix in topsoil with the chip mulch and then seed that mixture with a native grass seed mix. But good to clarify.
Was that something you had suggested?
That is what you, at the May 9th meeting, there was some discussion regarding the conservation easement language and the in particular the use of wood chips within this area. So that was one of the things that was discussed. I think that's
Okay.
in reaction to some of the discussion points during that meeting.
Okay, commissioners, or I'm sorry, Mr. Enters, did you want to add anything, or did that pretty well cover it?
No, I just, from Commissioner Clark, from the last hearing meeting, whatever you want to call it, I took down 6 items that you had mentioned. Alexis just covered 5 of them. The 6th one was the culvert letter, which had already been submitted, and I think it was blessed. So the 6 things that I had was mix the topsoil with the wood chip, seed with wildlife mix, put the arrows in, etc. The memo regarding the fence, the culvert letter, bamboo barrier information, and correct the drawing to show the 2-gallon plantings. I didn't have any other notes from the last meeting, so I think that we've accomplished those things.
Commissioner Knight, do you have thoughts on the proposed resolution of the conservation easement area? For the conservation easement area?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it gets mixed in, then that just helps accelerate some of the kind of return back to conservation or soil, and with the meadow mix, if they can grow, then that would be helpful.
Okay, so you're thinking that's gonna be probably about the best we can do there? I mean, you don't have objections to it? I think you're the one who had the most to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that needed to be remediated.
Okay. Okay, great. And then we've got the bigger plantings along the stream. I don't have any problems with the letter from Crescendo Media or whoever that was. I have to admit, I should have been more articulate last time about the bamboo. I should have said it needs to be a certified arborist, landscape architect, or somebody like that. This is kind of like a letter from the landscaping company is sort of like, you know, the guy at the bodega selling me cigarettes. He's gonna tell me they're fine.
Just in
But
my defense,
I would rather have, sorry, I would rather have something from a doctor that says, no, you're good.
You specifically told me not to get it from the guy that I bought it from, who's the head of the Bamboo Society of America, which is like,
That is true.
there would be.
I did say that.
I can't do any better than that. So I assumed that a detailed description from the guy who did it, who was communicating with that guy when he did it,
Yeah,
was gonna take care of it.
yeah.
Along with the details from that guy.
And like I started, this is my fault for not being more articulate last time.
Okay.
That was sort of like Marlboro Company working together with the guy at the bodega selling the cigarettes. So, but that's my bad. You're absolutely right. I didn't say get a letter from a certified arborist, landscape architect, etc., indicating that we should have no concerns about the bamboo jumping the fence and going wild. So I apologize for that. But I'm only one guy. I'm just one commissioner out of
I'll
four.
put up my view from where I sit, that I don't see, in looking at the amendments and how the language has been changed at a state level in terms of just an outright view from probably, experience of it. Bamboo needs ongoing active maintenance and monitoring to ensure that any system put in place is holding. To the extent that this is in a review area and we know that this is a problematic species and not beneficial to the environment in which it's within the upland review area, I'm not too favorable on it being there.
I'm happy to have a stipulation where I'm responsible and I have to monitor it. I mean, it's what we're going to do anyways.
Well, I think really what's got a little more teeth is if, for example, staff, made a yearly visit, but then what we're doing is instead of making the smart decision now, we're burdening the city with babysitting this bamboo.
Or you can burden me. I mean,
We didn't create the burden. Let's just make that clear. Commissioner Hollowinko, do you have any thoughts?
no, I'm saying you can burden me with the responsibility. I didn't mean you're burdening me.
Yeah, I see.
And then I can get a ticket or a violation or whatever it's called. I'm happy to do it. I don't want it to go anywhere.
Right.
I mean,
Yep. Understood. I understand what you're saying. Ed, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I heard my name there. I'm actually okay with the bamboo and what they're doing with it. I don't think there is much more protection they can really offer. But I have bamboo in my backyard. So, I know how this stuff gets away from us. I think this is quite adequate.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
I'm not comfortable with it. I would not have approved it. And I don't think that's the right. I don't think that's the right plan for that location.
Okay. Thank you. Alexis, can you, do we have any room to monitor? Is there a mechanism for that? Like I would love to be proved wrong. If it never goes anywhere, as long as any of us are around, then yeehaw, that's great. That's the intent, right? We just don't want it running loose. We don't want to let it running rampant. So Alexis, I mean.
so is there any way that I can guarantee that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
So I heard two things. So I heard, I think the first comment from Commissioner Knight was that it was within the upland review area and not beneficial to the environment. And then there's the other question of it not being comfortable with the prospect of its long-term containment from some. That accurate. So
Well, 3 out of 4. Not all of us agree.
containment, I mean, you can require kind of a something similar, which is very hard to keep track of, and we don't do a very good job of it. In the past, the commission required kind of stormwater maintenance annual reports, and so You would require some kind of annual check-in, or a report from the property owner, or a photograph from the property owner confirming that the bamboo is not escaped. We just have to remember to look for that from them.
Can I add something more to that?
Mhm.
In addition to that, why don't you keep $5,000 of my soil and erosion bond in perpetuity?
I mean, we can certainly take a bond for, I would not, perpetuity bonds, our comptroller's office really doesn't like that.
Okay, keep it for 10 years. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Because I'm just, I need it to stay where it is and I need to control it. So I'm just trying to offer whatever I can to get to that point.
So commissioners, a bond is definitely within your toolbox.
I wouldn't be
I
against
have a-
that.
I have a question. Can the bond be used for your time for checking in on this? Because like, I mean, we're burdening, your department with potentially checking in on this. Like, I mean, it seems like it would be fair to have like, payment for time. Is that something that's at all possible?
That is not, so
Here's-
you're, although that would be lovely, but it's not.
Here's a
Um,
question for you, Alexis.
Yep.
So with the conservation easement that we've given to the Conservation Commission, I guess,
Yes,
whoever we gave it to, does somebody check on that ever?
I'd say that we probably will, yes.
So can the bamboo not be added to that same checkup? Which would add 5 minutes to the length of the checkup?
I mean, these are all like, it could be fine for the next 5 years, it could be fine for the next 10 years, but the issue is that, this is nature and this is a situation that's gonna have long legs and long life, and can potentially be problematic 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And we're dealing with a lot of that when you think about environmental issues. It's the slow course of nature relative to like the short human life course. And it's creating a long-term burden, and it also creates a precedent, because I don't think we want to sit here and say, as long as people come up with like these things where we have to monitor and look at what's happening in upland review areas and people have contained systems, that we're happy with problematic invasive species being put into areas. So, it might be fine and it's easy to look at the once-off thing, but this is creating a precedent as well for other applicants that come in or look at the public record and say, well, I can put whatever in as long as, I create all these stipulations, which ultimately puts a burden on a city to then monitor and more enforcement action. So, that's just a view to put out there.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's not, nobody can come in and say, I want this because of this. It's not the way any of these commissions work, from P and Z to here. And I get it. I made the mistake. Ultimately, I'm trying to do anything possible. And I know it's in everyone's best interest for it to stay where it is. So I'm happy to be the one who's responsible. And if it's a yearly report with pictures, I'm happy to do it. I offered, the bond. Not sure what else I can do.
All right, so at this point, so here's the deal. We don't have a draft resolution for this. Alexis, how quickly is our clock ticking?
Yes, so I'll get one ready for your next meeting. And I'll try to come up with a variety of resolutions that, and,
More work for you, you mean?
yeah, yes, but, so I think I've taken notes and I will, draft a variety of resolutions and, hopefully one of those, finds a majority and passes at your next meeting.
And will one of those drafts be to reject? Or to, what would be the way that
I
we
would
say?
not, so I don't think that you have good cause to kind of reject the entire application. So I would have a variety of approve with conditions and or approve with conditions and modifications. And the modification would be remove the bamboo. That's like the worst case, but everything else is good. And then if bamboo stays, I'll come up with various conditions to mitigate, because inland wetland conditions have to mitigate a potential negative impact on the wetland and water course. So I'll come up with conditions that would, you can decide whether they adequately mitigate the potential negative impacts or not.
If I could just say one more thing, is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm not, and I am, I admit, trying to sway you a little bit, but I do want to point out that the way this site was before we got it, it was 6 acres of asphalt that all drained into that ditch. And which was back then seriously a ditch filled with garbage and everything else. And I just want to point out that I think, and I communicated an awful lot with Alexis, and we tried to be very sensitive to that being called a water course, when in the beginning we were like, this is not a water course. Well, I think it is now very, very much improved. And I think that's worth noting. That's it.
Yeah, that's entirely true. I would agree for sure to that. Okay. So it sounds like, we've got 3 out of the 4 commissioners on this meeting that are sort of still not in love with the idea of leaving the bamboo there. Who knows what commissioners will be at next in that meeting in 2 weeks, right? Alexis is going to throw something out there, some options for us to consider. I mean, I lean heavily on the advice and the direction of professionals, and I'll be really clear with it this time. Like, if you had a landscape architect or an arborist, of reputable whatever, who can say, look, guys, this thing is not going anywhere. Here's my stamp on this memo. That I'm not speaking for anybody else here. I'm saying me personally, not being an arborist, not being a landscape architect, I can't argue with that, right?
Good.
So that if you're looking for ways to get votes turned to your direction, that's one that is sort of the CLIA, honestly. If we know what that acronym means.
And you still don't want to hear from the head of the Bamboo Society of America, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that's like William Morris again with the cigarette metaphor.
Just checking.
I don't know. It'd have to be somebody who's objective. I don't think that anybody from that field would be objective about something like this. So again, I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for me personally as one commissioner who may or may not be on the next call, right? So, but as far as the other issues, I think I'll speaking for myself, I think I'm satisfied with what's being proposed, and I appreciate the effort and and the patience with us.
Okay, thank you.
But again, other commissioners, do you have anything else to chime in, counterbalance, please?
Yeah, I just echo, I appreciate the working with us and the patience and the good faith in, making good, and the work that you guys have done on rehabilitating that environment and the system is very much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, we've got, I think, maybe a path forward. We'll get it on the agenda for June 13th, was it, Alexis?
Yes.
Is that our next meeting? And hopefully we can get it moved along then.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice evening. Thanks.
Okay, back to the agenda. S23-617. Why do they all start with 6? I know what S23 is.
That's a long story.
Okay, don't tell me. That's fine. I don't need to know. I was just a curiosity. S23-16, S23-617, 16 Fireside Court. Blah, blah.
So it looks like Mr. Giaputsis was here, but then he left. When we last met with him at the previous meeting, there was some quick discussion regarding his submitted plan, which I will share quickly. All right, and so again, there's a stream just off site on number 16 Fireside. Some of the restoration activity would occur on 14 Fireside. He is 16. We did receive a letter of consent from the owners of 14 Fireside, so that's all set. And then I don't think that any of you had any issues with the proposed planting plan, which was a lot of fern and then about 17 shrubs within this area. One of the things that was discussed, though, was kind of fixing this side of the map, showing that there's a large pond here, that this area here is actually not lawn, and adding information about the pop-up carport that is currently installed at the end of the gravel row there. The property owner had indicated that he returned to Environmental Land Solutions to get the plan updated, but I haven't received an updated plan. And like I said, unfortunately, it looks like he was at the meeting but left. So I'll give him I'll send him an email, and hopefully the next meeting, in advance of the next meeting, we'll have an updated plan, and I'll have a draft resolution to approve, unless anyone has an issue specifically about the plantings, and then we'll continue discussion about this structure that also does need a zoning permit. And I believe that he has gotten a zoning violation letter for that pop-up structure as well. So.
Okay, thanks, Alexis. I think everyone will probably agree we can just move forward past this one for now.
Do we need a motion?
No.
Okay, moving on to then S23-618, 27 Bonnybrook Road.
Okay, the applicant is here for that, Mr. Brian Carey from Land Tech. This was a proposed second-story addition, which would trigger a on-site septic reserve system. And I need to update the website. There was, let's see, share the site plan to jog your memory. So this is Bonnybrook Road, which is off of Richards Ave, near Richards Ave, Geneva, Bonnybrook Lane. So there is a watercourse on the eastern side of the property and a thin little bit of riparian wetlands. This is the second-story addition, and this is the proposed B100A reserve septic system. This line here, the dashed line, is the upland review area from the watercourse, so the entire property is within your review. Previously, I had noted there were some elements of work that were done without a permit, and some of those were noted by the applicant upon the arrival of this application. the previous meeting, you decided that it would be best to have a clear separation between the proposed activities and the activities previously done without a permit. So I did issue a notice violation. And that will deal with the shed, potential replanting, the pool, the deck, and the Stone Drive expansion. And for this current application, what you're really looking at is this proposed second story addition, the proposed covered porch, a little small bump out here, and this reserve septic system. And Mr. Carey, you're more than welcome to add anything, or I can stop sharing my screen if you would like to share yours.
Yeah, thank you. Just for the record, Brian Carey, Director of Environmental Conservation at Land Tech, here on behalf of the applicant Mike Garcia of 27 Bonnie Brook Road. Alexis, thank you. If you will let me share the screen, I'll. So we did get your NOV, and we will have all of that information to you by the end of the week to meet the time frame associated with that. One of the requests in the staff comments that we had received was to actually provide more of a planting buffer. So what we did is we did come in here and put shrubs and medium-sized trees, specifically serviceberry, along the riparian area here. One of the things, this stone gravel driveway will be coming out as part of the NOV. And again, the area of the pool and this existing slab that they built, they somehow were able to get a zoning permit, but they never filed with wetlands. I guess that happened during the pandemic. And then there was some trees removed before we were hired to take over the planning process. So I just wanted to show you this. This will be coming in as part of our response to the NOV that we received last week. I'm hoping to get that to you by the end of this week, so we can move forward with that. Other than that, it's a pretty modest application. The second story addition isn't adding actually any coverage to the property. It's only this small proposed overhead covered. The B100 does not need to be constructed at this time, only if the septic system fails in the future. This is an existing shed, as Mrs. Chiarchetti said. And other than that, like I said, we'll be mitigating the project by installing this riparian buffer that does not exist at this time.
And then Brian, the only question I had for you for the proposed work, so just the second story addition really, is that you have on your, on that plan for your silt fence, is there a reason why the silt fence is so close to the water course? Could it be pulled closer to the existing driveway?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm not quite sure. That doesn't really match up with our planting plan either. I think for the sake of this, we'll put it, off the corner of the house and pull it up towards where the existing stone driveway will be being removed.
Okay, great.
right in
And
this
again, I would
area.
just be sure to separate Mr. Garcia is going to need 2 separate applications. And so he'll, for the application that's before the agency tonight for the second story addition, you're not proposing any plantings associated with that work.
No, no, because that will be done as part of the NOV application that we'll be submitting. And I was I'm sorry, I haven't called you yet, but I'm assuming that that's a intermediate or
Yeah.
minor.
Like intermediate.
Intermediate, okay.
Yeah, you can give me a call tomorrow.
That's really all I have. It's a modest application. It's compliant with zoning. I think that's all we have at this point.
Okay. Do any commissioners have questions about what we're looking at and discussing?
No.
So it sounds like we'll see this again in June.
Will we see an application for the first part of what Alexis was talking about?
Yes, I suspect so. That is
Yeah,
my.
so the NOV required we submit plans to address that notice violation by June 4th. So we'll have that in, like I said, by the end of this week.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, we will let Mr. Carey go and talk
Thank
to
you.
him again soon.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Enforcement actions. V23-1051. 256 Philo Street.
All right, so this is a show cause hearing. State statutes require that anytime your staff issues an enforcement order, you, the agency, have to hold a show cause hearing to give the respondent or the person that I've written the order to an opportunity to respond and give any additional information to you that you would then use to make a determination whether to uphold the order, to uphold and modify the order, or to withdraw the order. So tonight, you're really just trying to determine, is there a wetland violation, and are the proposed remedies appropriate for that violation? So I'll give you my information of why I issued the notice of violation and the order, and then Mr. Palenko is more than welcome to then come in and give you additional information, and then we can close the show cause hearing and move on. So in February 22nd of 2023, I wrote a notice of violation to the property owner of 256 Philo Street after I met Mr. Palenko on the property earlier in February. And when I went out there, I found that there had been some removal of vegetation, some filling, grading, and otherwise altering the wetland watercourse in the upland review area. That notice of violation had two directives. One was to submit a corrective action permit application on or before March 28th, and then two would be to implement completely all proposed and conditions deadlines prescribed in what would hopefully be an approved permit. And so I did meet with the respondent and his portions of his team throughout the time prior to March 28th and after March 28th, but having not made any progress with the actual submission of a application on May 16th, I issued an order which pretty much reiterates everything cited in the notice of violation, but notes that there has not yet been action. And so let me just share a aerial photo. It was so slow, sorry. Loading, thinking big thoughts. Okay. we're over in kind of the western part of the town. Here's Phyllis Street. This is Bet Marley or Bet Marley Road. And Richards Ave is coming from here. And so if you keep going south, you get to Connecticut Avenue. There's again Phyllis Street. So the golf course is off the screen to the right. Weed Avenue and the old Dolce or Lakota Oaks property is off to the north. And this is the property here. Let's see if we can get the computer to go in. Slowly. All right, it's very slow loading for some reason. Okay, so this is the property at the end of March. Zoom in one more time, I think. Okay, it's good enough. So this is the water course. This is the Holy Ghost Father's Brook, which originates north of the Lakota Oaks property. It's what forms the ponds on the Lakota Oaks property, and then it continues to flow down until it gets to eventually to the 5 Mile River. This is after I issued the order. So this black line here is the silt fence that the property owner was required to install when I went out there. The front yard has new deposition of fill, and it's the vegetation in the front yard on either side of the water course, and then a little bit over on this side that caused the order. So the property owner is also doing work in the rear and at the rear of the parking lot, not parking lot, driveway. Sorry, it's getting tired. This area is outside of the upland review area of the water course. This area is within your jurisdiction. And then just for comparison, this is in the previous year in 2022. The water course is here. There had been a row of evergreens between the lawn area and the wetland water course. The driveway didn't then have the retaining wall that is partially constructed along here. So these trees were removed, and then as the respondent will let you know, these trees were removed. Some of them were potentially removed before the current owner's purchase of the property, although most of them were, it looks like they were generally all there in March of 2022. And so since I issued the order, I have met with the owner's representative multiple times, and he is actively working on putting together a proposed site plan that would show replanting. The order that I issued gives a deadline to submit a corrective action application by June 6th. Remember right? Which is June 6th. So those are the reasons why I issued the notice of violation. And with that, Mr. Blanco, you are still here. You are more than welcome to speak.
So yes, I assuming I got those three, the pines, because I want to make my front yard, really nice and good for my kids. They can play over there. And now I didn't know what's on, on the wetland, to be honest. And now I want to replanting and do, what I have to do
To preserve the.
to preserve the area. You can talk to it.
Yeah, just whoever is also talking, just let us know who you are, because when we
I'm
do-
his wife, Eliana Gomez.
Okay, thank you. You're the owner of record.
Yeah.
Okay, hello.
Hi. Yeah, we just wanted to make the land flat and even for our kids to have a nice yard to play in. We didn't know that these plans were to preserve the water course, but now that we know, we're trying to get and plant back what needs to be there for the water course to be preserved, and we can move forward with this.
Okay. So commissioners, that's I think all that either of us have.
Okay. So, and can any commissioners have thoughts, or I'm of the mind to uphold the violation? And I'm happy to move as such unless others have thoughts. Right, we need a motion, right, Alexis?
Yes, please.
I can't see everybody, so I'm gonna assume everybody's okay with me
Right.
doing that.
Yep.
Okay, so be it. I move to uphold the violation for V23-1051 256 Philo Street. Violation, notice of violation number V23-1044.
Second,
Second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Okay, well, Mr. and Ms. Palenko, we'll talk to you again soon, and Alexis is an excellent resource to help make this as easy as possible to move past.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'll wait. On to the easy stuff. Approval of minutes. Anybody read them? Did Amelia write them?
Diana wrote them.
All right, Diana wrote them. All right. Well, she can't, neither of them can vote though, unfortunately. All right, so I'm just going to assume that they're perfect and move to approve them. Second,
second.
wonderful. Discussion? Aye. Vote aye, yes,
Aye.
or nay, whatever you want. Can't have any abstentions though. Okay, great, passes. Conservation initiatives. Oh, we were probably supposed to do homework on something, weren't we?
Yeah, I can send out again. So I don't know how you want to deal with, so the last time we talked about maybe putting together some comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the zoning rewrite. I can also see if the, although he'd probably kill me, to see if the either the Director of Planning and Zoning or the Principal Planner, they have been going and doing presentations regarding the proposed regulations to not only community groups and the voting districts, but also to some of the different commissions, and that they went to the Harbor Commission and to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I can also see if you think it would be helpful to have them come to talk to you, or I can, so that's one option, or I can resend kind of the various, I think in one email I had hit upon some of the environmental related issues within the zoning regulations, and that kind of came down to flood regulations, coastal area management, grading, sedimentation erosion control kind of regulations, and sustainability requirements. And then the idea of impervious coverage in general. And its impact on water quality.
I have a question. I mean, sometimes our meetings are, we never know how long they're gonna be. Like, would
Yes.
it be possible to have like a special meeting to have them speak to us where, it's just Conservation Commission so that we know like, okay, we can block off an hour at night, an extra meeting, but at least it's not like, between like 8 and 9 at night after we've heard a lot of applications.
Yes. The mind numbing consequences of applications. Yes, absolutely. That is,
I don't know if anybody else would be open to
I
something
would,
like
I
that.
would, I would second that because I think that this is important and I think it's something that happens infrequently. So I would be all supportive of a special meeting just to focus on it.
okay. I will work on a special meeting.
I did look over some of the stuff, but I actually didn't piece it together with your email, unfortunately. So I may not be totally ready to comment on it right now.
So,
But one thing though that I would really like to see in the zoning is under commercial developments, like a requirement to have shade trees planted in parking lots. I've seen that in Westport, and I know in the summertime, like I always seek out the spots under trees, and it really makes a big difference in the cooling ability, and the asphalt is so hot. So, that was something that was just one of my random thoughts on it. So, but I haven't put stuff together.
okay. No, that is perfect. All right, so I'll resend out the email. I will talk to Steve and Brian to figure out their availability, and then we do need a little bit of time to notice a special meeting, but not much time. So I can look at next week, which is June. Wow. The end of next week or the following week, the first full week of June, or later. Is there a week that is particularly bad for anyone?
I'm around both.
The first full week of June looks good for me, but
okay,
that's just me.
Would we do it? Oh, Dashel, please. Would we do it on a Tuesday night again, or are people available a different night?
I'm available any night. I don't have anything on those nights currently.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town June, Monday and Tuesday, June 5th and 6th.
okay.
Yeah, I vote for
I
Wednesday,
can make a
the
poll.
7th, if that's not being.
Yeah, Wednesday works for me.
Okay, yeah, I'll check with they have an extraordinary number of public meetings that they've scheduled, so I will check with them and then get back to you via email.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other conservation initiatives anyone like?
Actually, there's a planning and zoning meeting on the 7th, so that won't work.
Shoot.
But we'll work it out.
Well, we can do Tuesdays if you want, but if I'm not here with you guys, I'm at T-ball on Tuesdays. Wednesdays are good. Mondays are good.
Okay.
For me, just whatever. We don't have to plan around me though. I've got to read it anyway for Golden Hill. I've been voluntold to review it for our neighborhood.
Okay.
And actually, Alexis, when do comments have to be submitted by?
Oh, any time. It's it's kind of a moving target. I think that, let's see if we can, let me just look in.
There's 2 public hearings for the new regs in June.
Have
For
they
planning and
scheduled it
zoning.
for June?
Yeah,
it's
so
gonna be
The second
21st?
regular June meeting, and then there's going to be a special meeting in June.
Okay. All right, so public hearing June 21st, and then the
I think the 28th, I think it's the week after they have, so they're doing like back-to-back weeks of public hearings.
yes. So prior to the public hearing, I think would in some ways would be best.
Okay.
I think we can get that done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Cheryl, did you say Westport had something in about shade trees and parking lots?
Yeah, they have some ratio, like, 1 tree for every 7 or 10 spots that I came across. And it's for commercial projects, and they also have a recommended like list of trees that are all native as well for this condition.
I'm just thinking about what other cool stuff we can plagiarize from other towns, like, I don't even know how we would find that, or like, greatest hits, most, best zoning regulations for water, surface water, I don't.
Yeah, I've tried, it's hard to find them other than thinking of a place that looked like it was nice and then reading the regulations.
Okay, I'll have to think about that then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
Westport has some vegetated buffers, and I guess looking through Cam Zone.
that's
Yeah,
the
also
Canvas
like on the
Central. Sorry.
perimeter of properties, but I didn't see that as being as the parking lots. I was just thinking of the cooling effects.
Mhm.
They have privacy things too on commercial properties.
Well, I was literally driving as I parked my car this afternoon at the office, was like, oh, there's not a spot in the shade, like literally 4 hours ago, I was having that mind thought, whatever. Cool, okay. Anybody else, other conservation things? Moving on then to comments of staff.
The S is for summary. But yeah, so your permits used to be called declaratory, summary, and plenary. But I found that your average Norwalk resident did not know what those words meant. So we use minor, intermediate, and significant, often described as small, medium, and large. But I didn't want to change the numeration, so I've just kept the S for summary.
And that's how or where? Sorry, I'm not entirely following.
What's that?
I'm sorry, where is that?
Oh, you asked about what is the S. I was just.
Oh, no,
explaining-
I'm sorry. That's not what I asked, but
Oh, that's not what you asked.
no, that's okay though.
Oh. What did you ask?
I don't know. Comments of
Okay,
staff.
It was about why they all started with a 6, like they were all in the
Oh,
600.
that.
6.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that's just our enumerate, that's just additive. Click, 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 click.
Okay. So it's 6, we're on whatever property 600 something since the count was started at some random date in the past.
Yeah, it was started right before I came here and.
I was just gonna say, did you start it with 0?
No, but the guy that was here briefly before me, so there had been an enumeration. We started with in 1974, application number 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. We got into the 700s, and then in the year 2000, this guy was here for a brief while, and he changed it, but he started with number 37. I have no idea why he started with 37, but so this is counting forward from 37 in the year 2000 up to where we are. But so now we have 619s that are today's 619s, then we have 619s from like the 1998. So yeah, just don't get me started. But anyway,
Wow.
37.
yeah, 37.
Weird.
I asked him,
Uh,
and he couldn't remember. So anyway,
Have you heard anything about any of your grants that you've applied for?
no, I'm still waiting for a state grant that I had applied for last year. They have still not made any decisions based on the large number of applications that they've received, and then the other ones won't be announced until the fall. I did send along your referral to the land use committee of the council for the open space fund expenditure. Yes, I don't know, a lot of things going on, but no, I think that's all I'll report.
Okay. Thanks. Comments of commissioners? No? Okay. I don't have anything else.
I did have one other thing on tonight's council agenda. There is a new appointment to the Conservation Commission, Miss Heather Breslin.
Oh, good. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you about. Good.
It is on, yes, I knew there was something that I
Yeah.
wanted to, so she is on the agenda for being appointed.
Great. And she's aware of that?
One more. I hope so. Yes, I believe that the mayor's office sent her an email.
Okay. Yeah, because she talked to me a few days ago. I think it was the middle end of last week. She's like, do I need to do anything else?
Yep.
So, okay. Great. Okay, thank you. All right.
I interpreted that like she wasn't aware that she was being appointed.
You know? Those are the best.
Surprise. No, she's great. Okay, well, I will move to adjourn. Someone want a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
I think Catherine won that one. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, well,
All right.
have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah.